Upfront Books presents The Essential Deming, Leadership Principles from the Father of Quality, written by W. Edwards Deming, edited by Joyce Orsini, Ph.D., and narrated by Douglas Martin. Copyright 2013 by the W. Edwards Deming Institute. This audiobook is published by arrangement with McGraw-Hill LLC and was produced in the year 2020 by Upfront Books, which holds the copyright thereto. Preface. Dr. W. Edwards Deming published books and articles in academic journals and the popular press, with frequent letters to the editors. He wrote papers for colleagues and students and conducted hundreds of studies for clients. He also left a number of undistributed draft papers and personal letters to colleagues and businesses, as well as to his clients. He delivered abundant 4-day seminars to tens of thousands of people and spoke frequently at conferences. He criticized the status quo and was outspoken about government and corporate policies alike. Many of his ideas are standard in business today. Many more need yet to be adopted. Chronologically, during the late 1920s through about 1940, Deming's writings were based in physics. For the next 40 years, his written works centered in statistics and sampling theory. It was during his last 13 years, 1980 to 1993, roughly, that he focused on the transformation of management. Nuggets of management theory appear in Deming's early statistical work that pop up again 40 years later in his management writings. I believe Deming's theory of management is the culmination of his life's work. Everything is in it. This book is about Deming's theory of management, in his own words, gleaned from articles and papers he wrote, and speeches he gave at conferences and seminars, little distributed until now. My approach. I have reviewed the Deming collection of materials in the Library of Congress Manuscript Division in Washington, D.C. Materials that Deming gave to me over the years, and copies of papers he handed out in classes at various conferences, and that I have gathered from other sources. I have also reviewed hundreds of hours of video and audio recordings of his lectures to students and at conferences. More than half of Deming's works are very statistical and not directly appropriate in this book for more general audiences. After skimming thousands of documents, I reviewed in detail some 850 articles, letters, papers, cases, lectures, speeches, and notes by Deming that contained potential material for this book. I've selected about 100 of them for inclusion in whole or in part in this book. None of the works were in electronic format, so they had to be digitized. Several documents were 6th or 7th carbon copies, extremely difficult to read, but worth the effort to include them, I believe. 20 of the conference films and 1 of the audio tapes were transcribed for excerpts to include in this book as well. In this review of Deming's works, I found that he had a propensity to reuse the same, identical paragraphs in different articles, sometimes identical titles too, on different articles. Although he had some new content in each article, sometimes more than half of the content would be culled from other articles. Many papers were written in pre-computer time, so I could see the cut-and-paste sections on the originals of some of the articles. Deming also paraphrased prior writings in new articles. Within a speech especially, he often looped around and repeated the same content 2 or 3 times for effect. The looping has been removed. To minimize duplication of content in different articles included in this book, the editor took a heavier hand. As a result, the book contains very few complete articles. Deming never missed an opportunity to include statistical theory, so a fair amount of editing was done in this area of his papers as well, save for some light words on statistics in Chapter 7. One cannot talk about prediction without including the rudiments of statistical theory. Deming did not use the same elements of style or structure for every article. At first, I attempted to make all of the articles consistent with regard to style so as not to disconcert the listener. That was a fiasco. Deming used style to shape the substance. The articles herein are each in their original style. The choice of where to place each article in this book was difficult. I could make arguments for placing some articles in any one of several chapters. In the end, articles are placed where I believe they will serve the listener best. The contents of this book are Deming's words. I have not added my own words, except where noted in introductory statements. This book is not a substitute for Deming's books, Out of the Crisis and The New Economics for Industry, Government, Education. The Essential Deming necessarily includes some of Deming's ideas that came to be included in these 2 earlier works, but not all. This book is written for those people who wish to hear more of what Deming had to say about management in this world we live in.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?